Hi there, it's Connie-Rae. Welcome to ConnieRae'sCraftRoom.com. Thanks for joining me today for today's craft project, which is this greetings card, gift card. Not quite sure what you want to call it. It's a very pretty card, and I have left the sentiment, and it is nice to leave the sentiment open so that you can sort of. This one says a note for you. And of course you can put anything on the inside, so you can put happy birthday or something like that. So it's kind of like one of those cards that you can put away and have on hand when you need one. I will show you how I've made this one. You will need a piece of cardstock that measures, and the measurements for this one are a little bit different in terms of shape. The cardstock itself is 8 1/4 in length and 5 7/8 in width, scored at 4 1/4. You'll also, and it folds, you can open it either that way or you can open it that way. So it just depends on what you want to do with it. You also need a piece of, these are all Stampin' Up products, with the exception of one, and I'll tell you what that is in a second. So it's Wisp White thick cardstock. I've also used for embossing a piece of cardstock, white, Wisp White thick cardstock, which is 4 1/4 by 5 7/8 in size. And I've used the Garden Trellis embossing folder, and I've already embossed that. You can see the Garden Trellis imprint there. And this piece is going to go right over the top of the card, so that when you open it you really can't tell that there's another piece of cardstock underneath. So it's going to look like that there, and it looks really pretty. So you need a piece of cardstock to that, and then you are going to emboss that with your big shot. And then finally you need a piece of cardstock that we're going to be doing some stamping on, and that is 3 1/4 by 4 6/8. And that is that size here, and we're going to be stamping on it, and we're going to be creating this image here and doing a little bit of blingy bits and pieces. And I've already gone ahead and I've actually done that. You can't see it, and the reason that I went ahead and did it is because you can't see it, and it is white. I've done that with, you're going to need obviously your embossing buddy, so you're going to emboss all over, use your embossing buddy all over the smallest piece of cardstock that you've got. You're going to be using the Versamark, and we also are going to be stamping with my, oh, there we go, the Woodwords. Woodwords, yes. And I've used this floral stamp here, this large one here, and a note for you as a sentiment out of that set. And I've already stamped it, and I'll show you what it looks like. Here you go. So that's the stamp, and I'll place that down 3 times, and a note for you. And there's no extra layers on this. You're just going to be stamping straight down, and you're going to be covering it in white embossing powder, and that's the look that you'll get. So I've already done that on my piece because it's very hard to see, and I will now be putting in the color that I used. Now the color that I used for my card is not Stampin' Up. It's actually Ranger Distress Oxide Antique Linen. I find that they're very easy to use for your background colouring per se. So what I've done is I've just gone in very lightly initially, and I've just gone and done over the embossing areas only to start with, just so I can pick up the flowers that I've put down. And you'll see it come together. So you're slowly adding in the dimension. I just find the Distress Oxides are really nice to work with. I really enjoy working with them. They're easy for blending, and nowhere near as hard to use to get colour into your projects. Very easy. So to create that antique linen look, I wanted to make the flowers themselves a little bit darker than the outside of the rest of the card. So I'm really trying to emphasize the flowers, and I will be doing the sentiment in a second. And just keep putting on your antique linen onto it, and then just over the top as well of your sentiment to make sure you've still got that nice look that you're trying to establish, which is a little bit worn, a little bit antique-y kind of thing. So as you can see there with this one, see how it's coming up there? It's pretty, isn't it? So just want to make sure that that is actually, I like to, with this one, I made sure that the flowers are darker than the rest of the white card. So you've got that dark image. So it does look a little bit antique-y, and it looks sort of like that tea stainy look. So that's what I liked about it. So I'm going to stick with that, and then just go around and cover the rest of the card, but you're not going to be putting as much on. And just blend it so that it kind of looks as smooth as possible. Now if you wanted to, you could do this with crushed curry, or you could do this with stove saffron, or Daffodil Delight out of the Stampin' Up range if you wanted to. But to achieve this look, you would need to get the Distress Oxide Antique Linen, or this colour per se. Okay, and then I'm just going to go around the edges of the card itself, just to make sure that we've still got all around the edges looking like a little bit worn and antique-y. So there you go, and a little bit light in there. I'll just try and make it a fraction darker. There we go. So that's basically what your colouring is going to look like, which is really quite nice. And you can go as dark as you want on the flowers, and I feel like the darker you go, the nicer it looks. And it just goes so smoothly on this cardstock as well, so it's really quite easy to do. There we go. So it looks up very elegant, very pretty. Okay, so that's our blending done. We'll put our colour on. It's not a hard card to do, that's for sure. Now I'm going to stick this straight onto the front of my card, and I'm just going to be using Tombow. So I've used my Trellis embossing embossing folder to get that look. But you can use any one that you like. But I found that the Trellis one looks really nice with this one. And it gives you, if you use the Tombow, it gives you time to actually line up your card. Oh, I got that first go. That's not like me. I must be getting better at it. Okay. Good. Okay. Now, if there is a little bit hanging over, you can just trim off, you know, anything that's kind of like hanging over and it shouldn't be. Right, so the next thing that we're doing is it's really quite easy to do a card like this because you've only got like the 2 layers. Even though it's a little bit fiddly, it still is easy to do because you've got the layering sorted out. You don't have to do a little label for the sentiment because it's all included in it. I'm just looking for my embellishments. Oh, there they are. Okay, so with my embellishments, I did go a bit crazy with my embellishments this time round. I don't know why. It just looks pretty, but maybe I've used too many. Who knows? So we'll just put a few on, just to make it look nice. And these are the, I can't remember what they're called. But they're in our annual catalogue. Don't like that one, doesn't look good. And there we go. We'll just put this one up here, I think. Okay. There we go. Okay, so now we just got to pop it onto our card and we are done. And it's a really beautiful card. It's very easy to do. So I need some dimensionals and I've popped them somewhere and I can't find them, of course. Oh, here we go. If you've got some foam tape, you could use that too. That'd be really handy to pop it up a bit. And there we go. So we're just going to line this up now. Use your grid mat if you find it helps. And hopefully I will be getting it right. Hopefully that looks straight. Yep, that looks good. Okay, so that is your gift greeting card, I should say. A little bit different in size and structure and all of that jazz, but it really makes a good size card, and it does fit into our envelopes, which are the Stampin'Up envelopes. It fits in there just the same as any other card, just like so, and away you go. Pop it in the post. If you're going to pop it in the post, don't put too many embellishments on it because it will rip the actual envelope, and you don't want that. So that's the tutorial for today. Thank you for joining me. Please do like, share, subscribe, and if you need anything that I have used here today in this project, it'll be included in the links down below, and you just click on the link. It'll take you into the shop to buy any of these products that I've used today with Stampin' Up, with the exception for the Distress Oxide. That's a Ranger product. There is a few places in Sydney, Australia, you can get these Distress Oxides. You can get them in quite a, well actually they're available here in Australia quite readily now. So you can get them, and I do like them for doing my colouring. I find them really easy to use. You don't struggle as much, but each to their own. But sometimes, you know, a little bit of this and a little bit of that, it all makes a beautiful card at the end of the day, doesn't it? So thank you for joining me. Take care, and until next time, enjoy the rest of your week. And thank you again for joining me. Bye for now.